Welcome back to CBS This Morning, and we're going to begin in Washington, where in just hours, House managers will resume their opening argument in President Trump's Senate impeachment trial. For more than 8 hours yesterday, Democrats used testimony, text, emails, and even the president's own words. They argued he led an effort to withhold a White House meeting and nearly $400 million in security aid for Ukraine unless its president publicly announced an investigation into former Vice President Joe Biden and his son.
Republicans say that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky himself said that he felt no pressure from Mr. Trump. Democrats tried to punch holes in that defense, claiming Zelensky would say anything because Ukraine badly needed that military aid, which it did eventually receive.
Like they're going to admit they were being shaken down by the President of the United States. They're at war, and they're being told you're not getting $400 million in aid you need unless you do what the President wants, and what the President wants are these 2 investigations. If you don't believe that's pressure, that's $400 million worth of pressure. I got a bridge I want to sell you.
On his way home from Switzerland, President Trump tweeted or retweeted 142 times yesterday. I believe that's a record for this president, slamming his impeachment as a hoax.
Well, there are 7 House impeachment managers presenting the Democrats' case. One of them is New York Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. He joins us from Capitol Hill in an interview you'll see only on CBS This Morning. There he is. Good morning to you, Congressman.
Good morning. Great to be with you.
We're very glad you're here. You and your colleagues are laying out what some are calling a detailed, extraordinary, and some say excruciating case to remove the president. Do you think you're getting through to any of the Republicans who are listening?
Well, that is certainly my hope. Our case has been straightforward. The facts are uncontroverted, and the evidence is overwhelming as it relates to what has taken place here. The president pressured a foreign government to target an American citizen for political gain, and at the same time withheld $391 million in military aid from a vulnerable ally that remains at war with Russian-backed separatists in the East.
We've heard this. I'm curious about how do you cut through when the defense is saying, the president in particular, it's a hoax, there's nothing to see here, it's a big sham. How do you cut through what appears to be just one big talking point? I think people say, Congressman, we've heard all of this before.
Well, it's important to understand what the fundamental allegations are here as it relates to the abuse of power that has taken place. And then within that context, we have presented witness testimony after witness testimony, including individuals who were Trump appointees like Gordon Sondland, who indicated that everyone was in the loop and there was a quid pro quo. We have testimony from Ambassador Bill Taylor, a West Point graduate, Vietnam War hero, another Trump administration appointee. He indicated that there was no legitimate reason for the withholding of the aid. We're going to make our case with facts and witnesses and evidence and documents.
But, Congressman, when you make that case and you look out on the floor of senators, we've seen reports that some are doing crossword puzzles, some doze off. Do you feel that you have their attention and that they are receptive to the evidence that you're bringing forth?
Well, they'll ultimately have to decide the question of receptivity, but
you can tell when you're addressing a crowd. I mean, you can tell if people are paying attention to you or not. Do you get the sense that people are paying attention?
My sense has been that the senators on both sides of the aisle are actually paying attention. They are absorbing the information. Some of them have acknowledged that the information that they are receiving, they are hearing and processing for the first time. That's a good thing. A significant number of Americans are hearing this information for the first time. And that's an important thing, because what this is all about at the end of the day is what kind of democracy we are going to have. In America, no one's above the law.
Congressman, the big lingering question seems to be whether there will be additional witnesses in this Senate trial. There was some discussion, essentially a witness swap with John Bolton and one of the Bidens. Senator Schumer said today has said that's off the table. Is there possible deal out there that would put witnesses before the Senate, do you think?
Well, that's a decision that will ultimately have to be made by all 100 senators, and there are different perspectives that we are hearing from a variety of them. I'll leave that to the deliberations that will take place. But here's what I do know, that in America, a fair trial involves witnesses, it involves evidence, it involves documents, it involves a presentation of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And ultimately, the senators will come down on whatever side of this constitutional question that they think is appropriate, but they should hear all of the information before making that decision. They should hear from John Bolton. They should hear from Mick Mulvaney. They should hear from the other witnesses that the president has hidden from the American people.
Is there any chance the House could still subpoena John Bolton?
Well, that's a question that remains to be seen. Speaker Pelosi has indicated that she hasn't ruled it in and she hasn't ruled it out. We're still making the case to those senators and to the American people today. We will be applying the law to the facts that have been set forth, which make clear that the president did attempt to solicit a thing of value, which is phony investigations into Joe Biden and his son, as well as this Russian conspiracy theory, in exchange for taxpayer dollars and in exchange for an Oval Office meeting.
All right. Well, if you don't know, now you know. Were you trying to provide a moment of levity, or were you just trying to make a point? Quoting Biggie.
Well, you know, it was a spontaneous utterance, as they say, related to what came out. George Washington perhaps made the most important point, and I quoted him yesterday, which is that the Constitution is sacredly obligatory upon all. That means everyone, including the President of the United States.
All right, Congressman Jeffries, we're going to have to leave it there. I'm sure we'll talk to you again. Thank you, sir, for taking the time.
Thank you very much.